This is a high-speed offshore explorer yacht. Basically, for those of you who haven't got time to potentially take the real explorer yacht yet, or maybe you do, and you can let it serve you in multiple missions, because it'll also be a super awesome, amazing tender to your big boat, and it will also be a very luxurious, I would argue, all-season day boat. We'll start out the back here. This is a really, really interesting concept, and I'm calling it an explorer yacht because I don't want you to confuse it with an adventure boat, because it's nothing like that. It's so much more. This is the Technohull XPD. This thing is, I think the way I would like to describe it, it's right at the top 1%. And it's going to serve those of you who are looking to do something life-changingly awesome, if that makes sense. If you are a busy CEO guy or girl and you have many passions in life and you want to explore some of them on the ocean, and that involves seeing amazing places, but if you're just too busy to go there at 8 knots, or if you're just too busy to manage the crew and associated logistics of a big boat, this thing will allow you to do missions of a few hundred nautical miles at high speed in ultimate luxurious comfort, and then you can stay on board with 2 cabins. There's actually possibility for a 3rd crew cabin forward, and you're in absolute luxury. However, once you've done your super amazing exploration of wherever you wanted to go, now I'm talking like go and circumnavigate Tasmania, run up the Norwegian fjords, do something cool in New Zealand, or absolutely anywhere throughout the Mediterranean and the US. You know, cold, hot, it's kind of going to suit all of these environments. I'm even talking to my mates in Asia with humidity and requiring air conditioning. So it's going to touch on all these different parts around the world. And basically, if you can think of it, I think this boat can do it. So that's what I'm excited about. And once you've done all of that, and then you've moved on to buying your 100+ foot steel round the world explorer yacht, this can be the tender. So, like, see where I'm going with this? There's so many sort of missions that I think we can apply to this boat. The ideas are endless. Jump in the comments if you've thought of something cool that I haven't of yet. My name's Dan Jones, by the way. You're watching Dan's Boat Life. Welcome to Greece. I always enjoy coming here. The food, the anchorages, the views, it's fantastic. Yeah, so we're going to spend quite a bit of time doing a deep dive into the layout of this boat today, and then into the next video, I would like those of you who are interested in purchasing one of these to come for the sea trial, because I'm going to argue that if you want to run this thing without crew, yes, of course you can run it with a captain. That's totally fine, and you're going to understand that in a second. But if you just want to take the boat for yourself on your own with some mates, you can do it. And it's still very approachable, even though the traditional Technohull with the ribs might seem the most approachable to some of you. There is answers on how to make something like this a very easy boat to operate. It has essentially been designed that way. So I think it could just be perception on people looking at this thing going, wow, that's quite a big piece of kit. So let's start out the back of the boat. First thing you have to pay attention to is the size, the beam, and the amount of space we have from here at the swim platforms to all the way forward as we get into the interior. And that's because we're not sacrificing space with inflatable tubes. So what we're doing, we've got glass sides with variation of thickness, and they've got a function. Everything's got a function. It's not just stylish, it's functional everywhere. And this hard fender wrapping around the entire boat is part of that. So we can use it in the tender function, bump it up against some poles and come alongside other boats, and it is protected all the way around to the back. The reason why we don't need much space between the swim platform and these V12 600s is because the steering actually happens below the waterline on these motors. So the unit themselves, they actually just stay facing forward at all times, so you don't need to then create extra space. If you wanted to, you could option this boat with triple 600s. Now she's a 43 knots, maybe definitely more, because we ran with full fuel. You'll see that in the next video with these engines alone. So if you want more speed, that's up to you, get the more engines. And if you want diesel, because you need to take the diesel from your mothership, that's also possible because you can get diesel stern drive inboard. So all of that is doable. They're thinking about it. We've got emergency deployable ladder in this location, but your primary ladder is stored below deck here and attaches to these stainless points just here. So that's how that all works. I like how we've got really easy access in front of the motors. You've got the looms going to each engine, stainless steel plates, super strong mounting, drained, but also when the engines are trimmed up, they are completely out of the water. Not even the leading edge of the outboard unit is touching the water. It's completely out. So that's good from a storage and maintenance perspective. This lounge is one of your many options. Typical Technohull, we've got securing for the cushions because it is a fast boat. They're not going to go anywhere. It might also be something to hold on to. However, the motion of this vessel is much more yacht-like. It's much smoother through the waves. It's much more, whilst you can bank it in and do all the fun stuff and you can do all the tight maneuvers, it's much more predictable and maybe a little bit more graceful around the dock because the weight means that the weather is not going to overtake it as quickly. So beautiful aft sun lounge. This is actually the fender storage as well. So we just open it up by pressing this button here, and all the boat's fenders, I would suggest a lot of the lines can stow in this location. It is the logical place because that's where you're going to be getting on and off at the dock in most instances, depending on how and where you are berthed around the world. We've got the freshwater wash, the shower just there when you've been swimming. You're going to notice a lot of JL audio speakers. We've got multiple zones running all the way to the bow. The stereo system would absolutely pump on this thing. You can't see, but I'll B-roll. We've actually got the freshwater plug-in for the freshwater wash on the motors. That's an auto cycle. You just plug in the hose and that'll wash out the motors just there. We've got diesel in, which is because we have a generator. So we have a generator which can run the AC and a lot of the other 240 appliances, or 110 if you are in the US. And we have the shore power cable on starboard aft just here. Just pay attention to these cleats. They do this on all the Technohulls. It's super cool. It's like a carbon look. I forget the technical name for this, but it looks super stylish and it's kind of in keeping with the black touches that we're going to see as we make our way forward. So I like that. We have a storage space starboard aft. That's going to be probably good for wet items and fins and those sorts of things that you don't want to take forward after a swim. But do pay attention to this. So we're saving space on not having inflatable tubes, but we're also getting functionality. So we've got protection just here. We've got security just here. So people always have something to hold on to, but all the way forward, we've got these steps. So if you want to get off onto your other boat, you are not restricted by one little fold down boarding step in the middle next to the helm, like so many of the brands are doing. So if you've pulled up and just imagine it's a bit windy and you're pulling up alongside your race yacht and the whole crew is bailing off, everyone can just see where I'm going? Like super practical, almost rib-like. Maybe they were thinking of that. So I think that's a good idea. Underneath, stainless steel is actually the mood lights. You'll see them working their way forward along the decks, and the whole thing inside on deck has got mood lights, and they're kind of like a warm color. So next zone, so we've got the sun lounging, we've got the swimming area. The next zone I would like to run at speed here on a hot day, basically, because once we're inside, we have the option of being protected and out of the wind, but just get a feel for the amount of space we've got here. But then it's also the cooking. It's not a barbie. I'm sure you can option it with a barbie, but 2 hot plates, a fridge just here, and then a hot and cold sink. We do have hot water via inverter and a hot water cylinder down below, so you can do all of your outdoor alfresco cooking here. But the other thing I like about this design is the overhead has been designed in such a way that this back window, you may or may not have noticed that, this pops up. It's got this securing function here and 2 strong gas struts, but nobody's gonna hit their head on that glass. Some of the boats you've seen on my channel, when the glass comes up, you get into this location, and even I was kind of close to hitting my head. That's bad. I'm short, so if I'm hitting my head, you're definitely gonna hit your head. So that's a good design. This is great. Nice amount of overhead, giving us full protection at the barbie, and also something to hold on to if you were just ripping along at speed and having a good time. So functionally well done, and also look at the amount of space everywhere. So if I'm here at the barbie, I think everyone, you need to, it's always hard to demonstrate this in a video where it's just me walking through, but you've got to think about space in terms of the flow, because you've got to visualize what's this boat going to be like with 10 friends, because this thing's rated to something like 18. So you got to think, where's everyone going to put their bags? Where's all the mobile phones going to go? How are my non-boating friends going to be comfortable? When we're at anchor, like, how is the flow going to work? Because it makes a big difference to the fun factor for you guys. So if people are like, just wanted to hang out here and move up to this forward ton lounge, move in the middle, if there's enough space for us all, you don't end up having these blockages which cause just the whole thing to not work so well. I hope that makes sense. Those of you who do lots of boating will get it. So this is super handy for getting to the roof racks. So we can definitely load up all your toys, all your boards, big boards up here. It's a super solid structure, and you've got facility to secure them for high-speed operations. We've got some solar panels for trickle charge aft. We've got our navigation lights where they need to be. We've got spotlights. We've got radar. I'm sure you can put a FLIR system up here as well. So it's been stylishly done because it's protecting the optional opening sunroof. So the working function of the sunroof is fully protected, but then you can mount everything on top. And you could also put life rafts and safety gear on top here, as long as you color match them to make it look cool, because it's quite an obvious location just up there. One of the things how do I explain this? Because of the weight of the boat, it doesn't necessarily move. So if you're coming from a little adventure boat, if that was your last tender or your last runaround boat, you step on the side and they will lean. This thing doesn't do that. It's so much bigger, it's so much wider, it's so much more substantial. So when you step on it, it's not gonna lean and water from the roof go on your shirt. So even though there is a drain up here, it's not really a feature of this boat. So you could kind of load multiple people on the side and not super stressed. So why don't you guys go forward of me, because basically I want you to look at this beautiful background. How is this? I'm forgetting the name. What's the name of this place? Patroclus. Patroclus. It's a cracker. I've been here a few times before, but look at that. How could you not enjoy yourself with a cup of coffee and probably a cigarette, because we're in Greece, and that background? So midship cleats aft, sensible height gunnels, so you're not going to fall in the drink, and we have more cleats forward. So operationally, once again, for the guests, super safe. These doors are a real feature. We'll get to that in a second. So now I want you to have a little bit of a look at the interior here, because multiple things going on. We actually have a cabin underneath here. We'll come back to that, and another proper cabin forward with the head. But now, if we just focus our attention on the design, your picture from a guest's perspective, it's blue sea and fresh air if you want. So we've got a few things happening. These doors, they're manual as standard, but you can also option them as electric. They come all the way back. So they're two double doors, well constructed and very strong. We've been bashing through some waves, and you can see that in the next video. With the back window open and the doors fully open, it basically transforms into a full-on day boat, because if you look up here, it's a convertible. So with everything open, it's your summer boat. But as soon as the weather changes, which I appreciate because that's what we get in other parts of the world. I know the weather's a little bit more reliable for Mediterranean summers, but it's not like that everywhere. So I like to be able to have this functionality. And then if you look behind me here, that's actually air conditioning. So we can get cool air from there, and we've got two more vents up forward, so we can climate control this whole space, but we can also heat it as well. Actually, I was on another boat in California the other day, which had heated floors. Okay, that was my first experience of heated floors on a boat. I'm sold. If that's an option in the future, give it to me. Obviously, you got to be in a cold place to justify that. But I'm getting distracted. So this location here, we can essentially take the majority of the guests, say you've got 8 people for the day, they can be out back, and then everyone can transit in here and be comfortable for a ride. Remember, you're going to be able to lean your back up against the door. It does have a cushion on it. And then this table serves as something to hold on to. You don't really need to, because it's not really a bouncy boat, but it also absolutely serves as a dining table. It's got a couple of functions. It will actually swivel around. You can change direction, and then you can also favor the starboard or the port side. So depending on what use you had for the table, and there are other tables now coming from the factory, just talk to your dealer about that. But if you were using it as work from boat and you were setting up your computer setup, for example, you might want to favor the starboard side and get comfortable, or if you're doing a full social thing, that's up to you. We've got storage underneath both of these seats on both sides, here and here. They're quite deep. And then we've got air conditioning control back aft, and then more speakers in this location. There's so many zones with speakers. There is actually downlights if you were thinking about an evening meal in here, and the whole thing's illuminates. These strips here are actually lights, and we've tested them. We've already turned them on. We've got here before the sun came up. The whole thing illuminates very well. If you want to have the mood lighting, they're below the floor, and they're like a soft light which just illuminates the floor. Doesn't come up in your face, so it's quite kind of like a warm vibe it gives off. Now this is actually storage, so you can put lots of probably food and other items in here, stuff that you're going to use on the table. And then of course we have 2 more fridges here and here. And then I think having these footrests do make sense, because if you've got little legs like me, you are actually going to sit like that, be comfortable, but you don't end up hitting them as you're walking around the boat, because your feet kind of pass underneath quite efficiently. So we're going to get to that cabin in a second, because I just want to focus on this area, and then I want to take you straight to the bow before we come back to the helm and downstairs. This unit, it's fixed. It's not moving around, but it's quite functional. So come and have a look at these. These are super cool. These are actually drink holders which will heat or cool your drink depending on what you set them at. So if you've got a cool beer, you can chuck it in here, set it to cool, and when it senses that your beer is starting to warm up, it's gonna chill it for you. That's great. So that's social, fantastic feature, a little bit of first world action right there for sure. So nice finishes with the timber, and then on either side, I'll show you on this side, we've actually got like a pull-out pantry. So one of these on starboard, same on port, perfect for obviously loading up the table in that direction. And then this seat is actually been designed in a sensible way because the skipper has got his or her own flip down just there. And then the guests, I would suggest you could have multiple guests. I like that we've carried the footrest across for the guests. They're actually missing that on many boats that I test. You'll see if whoever's in the navigator or guest position is quite often missing something here, which just makes it a little bit uncomfortable once you get into bouncy water. So just think about that. And we've also got these handles here which work well for a guest as well. So if you're wanting to sit up with the captain and enjoy the ride, or your friend or whoever is operating the boat, that's a little bit nicer. But let's go to the bow and I'll show you guys up front, and then I'm going to come back to the helm before we get there. So water tank is down in this location here and accessible. You can put the water in from here on the starboard side. Same place on the port side is the petrol tank. She's over 2,000 litres of petrol. So for weight and balance, it's actually right in the middle of the boat, if that makes sense. More speakers, more courtesy lights, more sensible access to your boat. Love that. But then I think this is probably going to be one of the biggest highlights of the boat, to be fair. A sun lounge that you don't need to remove. These cushions don't move at 40 plus knots. We've already tested that. It's super stylish, and I think this is also giving us an appreciation for how much space we've got. Like, you really are getting huge advantages on space when you eliminate the tubes. So just think about that. What you are losing, however, is a little bit of a backrest, which you would get on a tube. So just pack a couple of fancy cushions, which look good on this upholstery, and just make that part of your daily kit, because you'll need it. In terms of anchoring the boat, it's pretty no nonsense. We've actually got let me just open this up for you. Boom, boom. You don't need to get too complicated with this setup, and I like that they've kept it simple. We've got two safeties in here, so you remove one safety and then there's the other, which makes sense if you're in rough water. But because of the flare design on this bow, it's just a vertical drop. So we're not having to think about extendable bow rollers or anything complex to deploy the anchor. So from your perspective, it's quicker to deploy and it's quicker to retrieve. And it's also possible, as you probably already worked out from the drone shots, to access from the bow. So with this design, because of the flare, the anchor is aft of the rub rail. That means we can nudge the rub rail up against a dock or another vessel, and we can board friends on and off the bow. Just be careful of this fiberglass here if it's wet, because you might slip there, so step here instead. Or if you're going to be doing a lot of that, what you could do is some grip tape in here and just match it with the color. That would be another solution. So essentially, what you may see on some other boats on my channel, they're going to have deployable bow roller systems, which are all hydraulic systems. They're all cool. I love all boat toys and systems, but they are more complex. It's another thing to maintain, and it's more time that you have to factor into your day. Whereas this, just get into the bay, drop the anchor. As long as you've got the safety off, you're ready to go. Navigation lights here and here, more of the cool cleats. And we do actually have a third, essentially a possible cabin underneath me right now. So you can just press the button there. This boat's got it in the storage function, but it's been designed to be a skipper's cabin if you were doing a little bit of overnight charter type thing, and one person could survive in there for 1 or 2 nights. Wouldn't want to be there for too long, but it's totally doable. Now, this is cool. I think, actually, you tell me, what boats in the Nordic countries does this remind you of? Because I'm looking at it and getting reminded of a few. But I like how these forward light bars have been designed in and set back. That's super cool from a stylistic point of view. The windscreen wiper installation is actually quite interesting because these reverse windscreens, they've got a function to them. So see how it's sunny, but there's no sun on the glass. So by designing a slope like this, it makes your situational awareness a little bit better because we don't have the glares on the glass, and there's other reasons. But I've noticed on some boats, many boats, because I try to bash them around in the sea whenever I get the opportunity, when they hang the windscreen wipers off the top up here and you smack through some big waves, the windscreen wipers have a tendency to then do this all the time. I think by mounting it there, it's going to have less of that tendency. So it's actually just going to be a better system for keeping the windscreen clear. That's all I had to say about that. Grab holds here and here. This hatch opens. It's an escape hatch. It's also ventilation to the cabin below, but it opens this way, which is sensible for big waves and wind. So that does make sense there. And then all of these decks are self-draining. So you could leave this out, obviously, all the time because the water's going to go through these drains and all the way down back through the scuppers. And what we will do, actually, we'll come around this side, This was the fuel in that I was trying to describe before. And you basically come down these two stairs and that's it, because it's then flat all the way till you get to the transom and just those two stairs. It's worth pointing out that because we have courtesy lights here and here, and this one's been done with a flexi teak, I'm sure you can do real teak or maybe no teak. I personally like having a color difference here because I've tripped too many times on white stairs when I'm busy leaving the helm and then I don't realize the stair is there. So if you have a color difference and also courtesy lights, it's just a bit safer. These doors, okay, I need to talk about it. Come and have a look. They're awesome. They're absolutely awesome. Let's actually run it forward halfway. So, huge metal frame structure, built-in drain, and no trip hazards. See how this is all flat? So you're not sort of hitting something here. It's flat straight into the boat, multiple settings, so we can have it one door, because now this is the next door, like so. And this is the electric one. You can just have a manual one as well. I'll leave it open, but these are a massive game changer from an operational perspective because we're just extending your season to basically a whole season or never-ending boating. So come in here. The helm itself, from a situational awareness perspective and from an operational perspective, it seems logical and low workload. So I think the reason why I would describe this one as low workload is, let me explain this. Do you need to deploy fenders? Not necessarily. The whole thing's wrapped in a protective fender. Can you see all points of the boat? Well, yeah, I could see every single cleat. I don't even need to leave the helm to look at what's going on. Can you see your guests? Yes, once again. Can I see the motors? Yes, I can. So like from that perspective, life becomes very, very easy. Then from a driving perspective, the hull's super nice. So you don't really have to stay busy trimming away all day. You can do a little bit of engine trim to go for efficiency. Then you can just steer the boat. And sure, you can use the interceptors as you see fit. Probably going to be more necessary or useful in inclement conditions or a loaded boat with lots of people, because the hull has a lot of inherent stability already. So that's just something worth noting. Just checking these waves, making sure we're okay. So you could put multiple screens up here. This boat has one. I think they are going to change it soon. Let me just check the anchor. Okay, we just shifted anchor. We positioned the boat beautifully, and then some big waves and the wind has increased and I could see it dragging us. I wasn't happy with that. So on the helm, we have good situational awareness, not getting too busy in terms of your workload, because the hull itself is so forgiving and the extra weight, you can feel it. So therefore, if you are trying to manage a bunch of mates, this thing's not going to take too much of your headspace. You can literally just drive this boat and do a little bit of trim for fuel efficiency and leave the rest alone. You maybe do some interceptor trim if you've got lots of friends on board or it's really, really windy and the boat's heeling over to one side. Other than that, and you'll see in the next video, the hull basically is doing everything for you. It's noticeable. It feels much more like a yacht than, say, like a little fast day boat, so to speak. So a couple of drink holders just here. We have facility and we have space for multiple flat screen multifunctional displays if you wish. I know all my mates in America would fill this with screens. That is an option. I like having these phone holders because then they're not going to go anywhere in waves. We've got in English all of our navigation lights, underwater lights, cabin lights, spotlights. We can operate the pump out from here as well, and engine room lights just here. This is the Mercury diagnostics screen, so we get all the digital readout from the motors. This is your windscreen wiper operation just here. Joystick, logical location forward of the throttle, comfortable as well from a standing position without a doubt. And if we want to sit, because this isn't adjustable, fine. I think for my short legs, no, I can still do that. I was thinking maybe I'd have something short up here, but that's fine. That's okay. And then you just slide out either way to operate that and it feels strong. So you got the horn operation, you got anchor up and down from here, and then another phone holder. We got our bow thruster, spotlight, stereo primary unit, VHF. And if you're starting your day, I like the fact that the keys have been positioned away from the helm. If you put them just here, you long-legged blokes are going to accidentally turn the boat off. But if you're starting your day, you basically just do your engines and service battery on here and here. You can operate the inverter. You got all of the other fuses, and the genset can be activated from here. So it's pretty no nonsense. And then depending on whether you have the electric or the manual doors, you operate them with the buttons. And then moving across to the first cabin, you actually just press this button here. And did I point out, that's the AC? I might have mentioned that before. And I didn't show you, we do actually have some storage up above, just here, above the helm. I won't close that, I want to keep this moving. The sunroof operation is done via the switch just above the helm, so you don't need to ask anyone else to do that. But anyone who's going to the loo, or if you're just sleeping on the boat, you pop this one up first and then you push this across. So that's got the integrated footrest. I'd probably come down backwards, but you don't have to, because it's quite a spacious area, because this is noticeable. So if you've been on any of the Alpha Technohulls, this feels bigger. I don't know if it is, I haven't measured it, but this feels more spacious, more luxurious. This bed is massive, and I like the side angles just here. So it's real kickback kind of zone. And then we have storage behind me in all of these 4 locations. They're all openable storage lockers. We've got the reading lights. We can access the bow thruster below the bed. We've got windows, fixed windows, but we do have privacy blinds on both port and starboard. And that's the hatch that I was talking about before, which opens facing aft. So that is sensible, to be fair, on fast boats. Makes a lot of sense. Underneath the stairs, that when we come down the companionway, that's access to the sea cock for emptying the holding tank, but you don't have to. You could just have that sea cock open and then operate it from the helm, which I was talking about before. There is actually extractor fan just here, and then turns on all these fancy lights. Nice vanity just there. It's a holding tank, electric toilet with a holding tank, wet area. However, if you were using this for a shower, because you do have your proper shower here, it's not installed on this boat, but there is actually a shower curtain rail that goes all the way around here. So then if you're basically you're gonna protect this door and all of this area here from getting wet, and your shower's gonna just wet you from there. So essentially you can leave your towel hanging up on the towel hook, and you can leave everything here. It's not going to get wet. So it's a proper head if you need it to be. This is also AC, so that's the extractor fan, and that's AC just there. So it all kind of works. But that's not it, guys, because we have another cabin back aft, and then we've also got technical spaces, which I need to show you as well. So this could serve as a storage space predominantly, but it's also going to serve exceptionally well as the occasional overnight. So if you've got kids, I would probably definitely go down backwards, just be careful, and you can hold on like so. And then basically you've got a footstep just here, and then you're in a proper sleeping cabin. So, you got plenty of space. It'll be perfect for a couple of kids. You've got ledges on starboard. You've got storage on port. You've got reading lights up there and there. We still have AC, and we've also got an opening window behind me, just here, and got its own blinds. And I think, what would you do? Which direction would you go? Maybe this way. I know it looks cool that way, but I feel like I would probably want to sit up in bed, and I've got my reading light there, so I'd probably go this way. But yeah, this works, and I can also see this being very suitable if you're perhaps using some of those inflatable toys and boards and all those sorts of things. You can deflate them. Whilst you also have storage in the skipper's cabin forward, this is just another option for you to consider. So even though the looks and the layout looks minimalist, and the flow seems to work, we're maxing out on the storage all the way through. So let's go look at the technical space. So there's multiple settings. You just press one and the whole thing comes up, but then to go down, you can set it to come down to a certain position, and then you finish it off manually or all the way. It's kind of up to you. So you see this has all been finished off in carbon on the inside, and we've got the genset on the center line, and then forward of that, I'm just going to grab the camera and I'll show you. Forward of that, we've actually got the battery bank. So you can actually see what appear to me like the crank batteries, house batteries, genset battery, all forward, good for weight and balance. And then the port crank battery just there. And now we can see some fuses on the port side. So power distribution, and this thing that I'm sitting on is actually a potential good storage space for some director's chairs or things like that. And then more fuses and some plumbing. And then you just look underneath here and you can actually see into the hull. You can see the ribs and bilge pumps, how it's been finished. There we go. But it's everything's accessible, and it's essentially another potential storage space. I think I just want to be careful what I'm putting down here, because we do have a lot of electrics in this location. So I'll just consider the items that I put in here. And don't forget, this whole thing here is a deep storage bucket, which makes more sense for any of your wet or operational items as opposed to this area. So just think about that. So that's the boat, ladies and gents. What do you reckon? Jump in the comments. Let me know what you think. What haven't I thought of? And I guess what demographic can I see is going to see the most value out of owning an XPD? Without a doubt, someone with some exploring, fast, comfortable, luxurious, elite exploring in mind. Sydney to the south coast, Norwegian fjords, New Zealand fjords, Mediterranean without a doubt, you name it, whatever you can think of, I think you can do it. Supporting your other vessels, your villas, whatever activities you can think of in summer, driving yourself or with a crew. Yes, absolutely every day of the week. Also, an all seasons day boat. I mean, look at what's going on here with the space we have available to us, and the functionality behind those doors that sunroof and the visibility from the helm and all points. It's going to be fun to operate. It's going to be relaxing to be a guest. And then you've got everything you need when you're at anchor or for the occasional overnight. Are you going to overnight on it? I don't know. You tell me. I would. It's not noisy, by the way, with the waves, because the lighter you get, the noisier the waves are. This actually would be a comfortable overnighter. So yeah, it's really, really fascinating piece of kit. I want to see more designs like this, to be honest. Would you go outboards? Would you go inboards? Would you go twins? Would you go triples? Let me know what you think. I guess the next thing we have to focus on is, how does she drive? Well, that's the next video. So click on the link coming up on the screen right now. Do join us. It's a beautiful day, and we do put the boat through her paces and try to explain everything that's going to be relevant to your boat life. And that's what this is all about. That looks like a Technohull right now. Because I ain't selling any of these boats, guys. I just want you to use this information as you see fit and apply it to whatever mission that you have in life, and just keep doing that. So if it's useful, please like the videos and communicate with me down in the comments. Love you lots. See you in the next one.